Today's podcast, we're sitting down with the one and only Jason Reisman. First time after he have sold to private equity, we will talk about how industry is changing, what you can expect in the next few years, how his life's changed, all the goods, bads, and uglies of a PE in the roofing space. But first, let me introduce to you our new partner of Roofing Insights, Navatic. Navatic is phenomenal stone-coated steel metal products, 60-year warranty, one of the best metal products I have seen on the market in a long time. We have partnered with them both on Roofing Insights and on directory, which means if you're a directory contractor, you can register any Navatic jobs for free. Navatic will take care of 1% payment warranty for that project. And on the Roofing Insights partnership, you will get $1,000 off your first order of 30 squares or more. Navatic is already cheaper than competitors, have a bigger warranty and better product. Check it out for yourself. Just try it for one project and I promise you, you will be a customer for life. I will put all information and details of this special deal below. Now, let's go back to Jason Reisman. Enjoy the podcast.
So we both know that 96% of new roofing companies fail. And then everybody's looking at PE because one company recently has failed, right?
People were not surprised that they're closed. People surprised how they close us.
You don't realize how married you are to the brand and how much it means to you. And I think it's a tough thing to overcome.
Well, what's one advantage of PE that you did not expect?
Our numbers, our team was in a really good place. Actually, the company itself ran really well.
Is PE raising industry standards or widening the gap? All right, very, very special episode for me today. Jason Reisman, Eustis Roofing Company of the Year. What was it, like 2022?
21.
21.
Yeah, well, it's 21, but would have been in 22, yeah.
So I can't wait for this podcast because it's the first time we're sitting down after acquisition of private equity. Jason reached out to me after recent news. He's like, Dmitry, too many people have negative perspective on private equity. So we want to talk about that, and thank you, brother, for being here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Love it. So let's start with your journey. I remember talking to Martin Pettigrew. He said, like, for many years, people approach him, ask him questions. If he would consider to sell, he's like, no, not my thing. After looking in, he's like, yeah, why not? What was the process for you?
Yeah, it was a pretty easy process for me. I knew that at the time, like, roofing had peaked. Our numbers, our team was in a really good place. Actually, the company itself ran really well, just with me doing content. Had built an incredible team, and there was really nowhere else for them to go. Like, as far as, like, I couldn't take them there. We'd built a company to $30 million in revenue, and to get to the next level, I needed some help. And to really take care of the team members and give them new opportunity, this was a direction that I wanted to go, and I knew this was going to move fast, and I wanted to be a part of it. And that's exactly what happened. I had a lot of my team move to the regional positions and help other roofing companies within private equity. And we saw a 30% increase in pay in the company for people that work there too. So yeah, it's tough on people because if you're not performing, equity doesn't waste any time on that. So you have to be a top performer. But if you are, it pays really well.
What do you have to change internally before PE would even consider you? Like, what changes you have to make? Because I know the same with selling any business, even if you sell it to a friend, books have to be in order, right? Like, what did you have to change in order to transition?
So before or during?
Before, during, like, what was conditions? What did you have to do different for it to happen?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to build a team that works whether you're there or not. Like, equity likes that because they can come in and they can buy a team. Like, you can have a really good setup, because a lot of times when the owner is removed from the company or the CEO that was originally there, it tends to tank. And so they want to see a good team that can support it if you're not there, because you never know if the people that are leading it are going to stay, how long they're going to stay. And when they do leave, a lot of times the team will go with them or people will. So they want to see steady progress. They want to see that your numbers are going up, that you have a strong stance in your market. That's a big one. So the equity firm that I partnered with, most of the companies that they bought, were really good, solid companies that have been doing it for a while. Like there's a company in Tampa called Handyman. So they've been doing it for over 50 years. And there's one called King Quality up north, and they've been in it for a long time too. And they're a big part of the community. That's usually what they're looking for. If you're a part of the community, if you have a strong stance there, and then you got a good team.
Got it. What's one advantage of PE that you did not expect?
I think the technology side came really fast and they guide you through it. So for instance, on the CRM stuff, they build a team that when they come in and set it up, they help push the process through, where usually on a CRM or a new network, you're going to be doing a lot of that work yourself. And then when you call the company, it's hard to get a hold of anybody, where they bring a whole team in that sets it up, makes it fast. I wouldn't say easy. It's a hard transfer from something else, but they make the process a lot quicker, a lot easier. The KPIs are incredible. Being able to look at the business and understand every area of it is a lot more vision than I had before. I think that I bring a unique part, which is, I understand the roofing side of it, and it doesn't really play into a KPI. So I like to put my input on, like, hey, this KPI probably is falling off because of workmanship here or this or that, and instead of just thinking we're not marketing enough in this area, like. So I like to connect the two. I'm more of the blue-collar guy that, honestly, like, I'd rather be on the roof leading that area of the business. The office isn't really a place for me.
You've seen a lot of deals. You've heard a lot of stories. You know, PE world and, how it usually happens. Would you say that PE usually structures deals that they can remove the CEO, or do they require a CEO or a founder to be there? What that structure usually look like? Because business owners usually treat it like it's his baby, and it's like can't do it without me. But at the same time, PE, looking from outside in, does need the founder to be there. Otherwise, they'll lose other players probably if they just remove. What kind of structure you see happening right now with the PE place?
So I see each PE company is a little different. Some are keeping the current owner or the CEO. Some are removing them. So they're all a little bit different. Here's what I think. I think if you're going to stay, you have to help progress the company. And a lot of times previous owners, CEOs, whatever it may be, they're stuck in the past. They don't like change. It's hard for somebody else to make decisions. And so sometimes they can get in the way of progress. And I've seen that a lot. So if you're going to stay, you have to help guide from your experience, but you have to be willing to try new things and keep the team motivated, because a lot of times if you're the current CEO and then the private equity comes in and they're making decisions you don't agree with, you can't be telling your team that. You have to guide them to winning at whatever that decision is. And a lot of owners will actually, they'll speak too much on, like, I don't agree with this. And you lose traction and you kind of get in the way of progress. So it's a hard decision for private equity when it comes to the owner staying or leaving, because you really don't know what you're getting until you're about a year in. Then you can really see what you're actually getting. They don't know what the owner is really going to be like when they have new ownership, the previous owner.
Would you say that money changed people too?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, absolutely, 100%. Money does change people, yeah.
I see. From your perspective, what's the biggest risk to sell into PE?
For me, it's always going to be people, the people that work for you. You want to take care of them, put them in a better position. And I think PE is really good at finding people. And so, if someone's not performing, they're going to find somebody that can. And so I always think the people side is probably the biggest risk. A lot of my competitors will say, like, community, like, you're not going to invest in what we invest double in the community that we did before. So I don't see that. There's a lot of benefits too. Like, everybody that works for me has retirement plans now. There's insurance, medical insurance for everybody that works there. Like, there's opportunities to retire one day. Like, all of those benefits are there that weren't there in the past. And so, we're seeing roofing change, get a lot more professional. I was just at an event, and what I saw was the business owners are more professional than they were in the past. My biggest fear of that is they're all chasing marketing and sales. And a lot of people forget that you actually have to install a roof in this process, So most companies are like, how can we sell? How can we close a deal? And then how can we collect? And they forget the most important part, which is you actually install a roof. And that's what matters most to a customer. And I feel like that's the kind of role that I play. Is I think the progress of the job on like that you're working on is the most important part of the process, because that's what the homeowner's paying for. And so I just don't want that to be neglected into close rates and sales and how do we collect the revenue. Like, how do we put the best roof system on? That's the key. And for me, how do you do that? That's the installers. And so my focus has always been, how do you get a talent that installs a roof, and then how do we support those guys?
Well said. How do you manage the pressure to grow quickly without going too fast?
Yeah, so for me, there's always pressure when it's in roofing. You've a roofing company owner, so you understand you're literally tearing people's roof off in Florida with rain, right? So we probably tear 20 roofs off a day, and we can have rain pop up anywhere. That's pressure. If anything else is not pressure compared to that, ripping someone's roof off their $1 million house and having 20 of those open in one single day, there's no greater pressure than that. So if we can accomplish that and get that done every day, I don't see anything else as pressure. The only other thing that I would think of is doing a really good job, like not losing the brand, making sure that if you start in a new area, that you have the right people on that roof. Instead of going too fast, just hiring anybody that you can find that can do the job. And that's what we're seeing with a lot of roofing companies is they just hire these random subs to put the roof on, but they sell this, we're the best. And for me, like if we're going to start in a new market, we're going to use some of our same guys until we can trust the new people that we started with.
Are there any hidden costs of PE that people would be surprised by?
Well, I think only the technology that we use. There's a lot more money that goes into technology to get us the KPIs. As far as homeowners, there's really no hidden costs. It's actually better for the homeowner. I think there's more leverage there from manufacturers, warranties. I mean, even for us, we offer some of the best warranties we've ever had. We have a 15-year warranty from us, from Eustis Roofing. I didn't have that before PE. So
It's funny you said it because, and I want you guys to pay attention, 15 years from Eustis, I would argue, is better than any manufacturer 50 years. Real talk.
Well, I agree, yeah, because a manufacturer is going to go, oh, the nail's in the wrong spot. We're not covering this whole roof, So where if you got it from Eustis Roofing, we're just going to take care of it. And I think, we both know that 96% of new roofing companies fail. And then everybody's looking at PE because one company recently has failed, right? Like, well, the odds are against us that single companies usually fail in the roofing industry. And a lot of it's because of workmanship errors, warranties. I think the biggest underrated thing in roofing is like, all right, if you have private equity got into the AC space and you put a new AC in, the part goes bad. Well, usually the company will pay for the part that you bought, the manufacturer will. But then you charge for the labor. We can't really do that in roofing, right? A vent goes bad from the manufacturer. The leak happens in the home. Now we got to fix it. The person paid $30,000. You're not going to tell them, well, you got to pay for our labor. It wasn't our fault, right? And so I don't think private equity sees that coming. I know a lot of local roofing companies start to understand there's a cost to that, because if you have a leak from a vent from a manufacturer, it causes $2,000 to $5,000 of drywall damage. You got to pay to fix that. You have to fix that. Where if you're in the AC company, there's really no damage if a part goes bad. And so I think private equity has been in that space for a long time, and they're not really sure what's going to happen in the roofing space, because there's a lot of damages that happen when something goes wrong in roofing versus AC. So I think there's a rough road ahead for sure when it comes to warranties. Warranties are huge for me. That's how I measure the business every morning. How many warranty calls do we have? What were they for? And that's how I can tell if we're running right.
Love it. Let's talk about industry trends a little bit more. Why do you think roofing is being acquired so aggressively right now? I feel like it's slowed down a little bit, maybe because the year is weird and slow in a weird way too, because its economy didn't collapse, but people definitely holding their checks. It's just uncertainty. And maybe you have opinion why we have a slow year, but overall, why they're still aggressively buying?
Well, I mean, when you look at the industry before PE, really wasn't, it was just starting to get traction on technology, making it better, more efficient. We really didn't have much of those things until private equity got in and it moved really fast. And so they could deliver, better to the homeowner as far as the way that we treat the homeowner, the way that the call comes in. A lot of roofing companies are more old school, and private equity thought that they could fast track that, and they have. There's definitely speed bumps on the way there. For instance, we started a call center, and for the first, 6 months, 8 months, we really didn't do well with the customer. We were still getting it set up. We were still learning. Now we're miles past where we ever were when it comes to customer service because it's built and it's working right. And so a lot of roofing companies weren't thinking out like, how do we build a call center for all of our branches or for the state? They usually just had that staff inside their location. So little things like that were attractive because Equity thought that they could get in there and fast track that, and they have. Definitely manufacturers, I felt like, were taking advantage of roofers for a long time. I think Equity solved a lot of that too in our area. But
how did they solve it on the manufacturer?
So the first thing is they looked at the warranties and like, these really don't warranty anything. And then we started making our own warranties, and then we started leveraging back. Like, if you want to work with us as a partner, you're going to have to take care of some of the issues that we have on some of these roofs. So we started to hold them accountable if there was an issue with the shingle, because now we're buying, $100 million in shingles instead of maybe $10 million. And that makes a difference. A lot of your manufacturers actually hired representation for private equity in their firms, so just to deal with us. So I think we leveraged back, got better pricing, more fair pricing than what we had in the past, and we're able to spread that throughout all of the companies.
Love it. Is PE raising industry standards or widening the gap?
I think they're definitely raising it. I think it's the best time as an individual roofing company to be in the market, because I feel like they're increasing what roofing should cost. They're making it more professional also. In Florida, like 90% of the companies aren't really running legally, right? Like they're getting around workers' comp, or they're getting around all kinds of things. And when Equity gets in the space, they can't do that. They're too large. So they got to make sure that everything is legit. And so that increases the price, the cost of the roof, which gives more opportunity to other roofing companies. I would love to compete against private equity if I had that chance. You know what I mean? I think there's a market there. And I think the best thing that you can do is just put a really good roof on and show what makes you different. The biggest thing that I've seen on Equity recently is like, don't buy from this sheet of people because they're all Equity. That's the worst thing. Like, what makes you significantly different isn't a piece of paper. It's like, what do you do on the roof that is different that private equity isn't doing? Show what makes you different on the roof. Rarely do we see content where people are showing like what makes them different from the roof perspective. It's just, you don't see that content.
Do you feel like industry is getting divided even more? Because now I see like all the small guys going to all the big guys. We always had it, but the hate used to be like small guys, like owner operators hating, giants, $50 million companies. Now it's shifted from giants to like private equity. Like everybody thinks they're better than others because they never receive a check from PE.
Well, I mean, I don't know. There's a couple ways to go about it. You can look at, is it Paramount? I think he started like a couple new locations. Like he's taking it on really strong. Like he's building a big brand. So you can either do that or you can stay small to your local area. You can kind of pick and choose. But I think, the opportunity is huge now because, Equity is getting to the customer a little bit better, but you can deliver something unique. Your local area, you can show what makes you different. And Equity is just getting to the customer better, faster and quicker.
What do most owners not get about what PE actually does for the business?
I think most owners don't understand how far behind they are until Equity gets involved. When it comes to technology, plans for your employees, performance plans. That's been huge for us is like, instead of just paying people a salary or a rate, they create these incentives. And honestly, a lot of people will reach those incentives if you set those. So as an owner, a lot of times you don't have time for that kind of stuff. Like, how do you develop plans for your employees? You're trying to get new work. You're trying to get sales. You're trying to collect. You're dealing with homeowners, where Equity can come in and set all these plans for the people that work for you to achieve them and make good money doing it. Like they can reach those goals. So that's one of my favorite parts about Equity is they create these goals and incentive plans for the people that work for you. And they can seem pretty intense and extreme, but usually people will meet those.
Love it. Do you think we're headed for a mostly consolidated industry? What would be a bad thing?
Yeah, I think we are heading for that more Amazon experience where you're going to buy from the internet. I think that's coming, and I think Equity is going to be on the front end of that. Right now, they're really good at sales. They're really good at training. Our new reps that come in sometimes can outsell a legacy guy within 2 weeks, and so equity's really good at training sales and meeting with the homeowner, but I think you're going to see more and more of it be online, and I think you're going to see private equity transition into that.
Let's talk about the news. Well, it's no longer news. It's 2 weeks out. But when Minnesota Alaska closed down overnight under BlackRock, what was your reaction? What did you think? Like, because it was a big blow. Like, I'm pretty sure if you're on the PE side, it's a big risk. It's everybody's gonna talk about you, and because nobody knows what's under the hood. That story was crazy because it was overnight. I think people were not surprised that they were closed. People surprised how they closed it. It's like, hey, we're doing all this work, and tomorrow, like, we're forcing you, we're just shutting you down overnight. Usually, bankruptcies or closures, we're talking about 6 months, 8 months. Everybody sees happening. I've never seen anything like that, to be honest with you. When imagine your workers coming in and, like, it's not your decision. It's someone at the top say, "Hey, we're closing it down. Go home." Like, how do you react or deal with it?
Yeah, I was pretty surprised by it, to be honest with you. I think a lot of times people don't remember, though, our market's totally different. It's like, at least in Florida, it's 30% down from what it was, year over year. It's definitely declining, and so equity got in at a bad time. They got in at the top of the market as far as in Florida. I saw that. So I don't think it's fair a lot of times for people to judge equity, like especially them, because we saw a decline in the market. We saw a lot of hurdles that we didn't see. We saw the insurance market changing. But as far as that company, for as long as they were in business, that was surprising to me. I think it was like over 50 years, right? So very surprising. Yeah, I was super surprised. For us, we can see things coming because we have such a clear perspective with the KPIs. We can kind of predict our future a lot of times and usually be pretty close to it. And so I was surprised that maybe they didn't see it coming. But a lot of times in the transition, there's a lot of hurdles that you got to cross. So when private equity first gets in, you're going to probably, in most cases, you're going to change your CRMs, you're going to change your processes. And a lot of that stuff can be very difficult to navigate. So for the first 6 to 8 months, it's really hard on the company. And when you come out of it, you're better at it and better for it. But a lot of people don't realize that the first 8 months, it starts out slow and then it increases really fast. But you're adding new people, you're bringing new management in sometimes, you're changing your CRMs, you're changing your process. It's really, really hard on a company. And so if you can get through that process, you'll come out better for sure.
This is going to be a hard question for you, but what's your take on the former owners coming out against the closure? So people sold to private equity, and the Roscoe, it was 7 brands, and now they're coming out, surprise. So they cashed the checks, right? So they sold, and a lot of people call it, hypocrisy. Like, hey, you sold it. What do you think going to happen? What's your take on the owners, going against the closure, and what should the owners do in that situation? Do they have a right to restart, buy it back? I don't know.
I think the owner should always have a right to buy it back. We've seen that happen a lot in the industry and bring it back to life. It's probably the best way to bring one of those businesses back is put the old owner in it. But I think every owner has the right to retire and move on from the brand and let other people take it to the next level. And nobody knows what the future holds. And so sometimes you can't predict it. But I don't think it has anything to do with the previous owners. They got it to that point and they handed it off so the next generation can take it. I think people are pretty harsh on the old owners, calling them selfish and stuff like that. But a lot of those same people didn't sell their companies because they didn't get the price that they wanted. So like maybe there's a little jealousy there. Everything has a price, right? And so you've seen the marketplace as far as on Facebook with a lot of negativity on private equity, but there's a lot of good private equity out there. There's a lot of good things for our industry on it that you can run with as a smaller company. So I don't think it has anything to do with the old owner. I think they sold it, they put it in new hands, and they're allowed to retire too, right? Like, why are they not allowed to retire?
100%. What do you think is the biggest lesson from the story for the business owners? What lessons should we take from it?
Yeah, so for me, I think the original owners that sell should stay involved until they get them to a good spot. I think that's really smart in the roofing industry. I don't think the roofing industry is like any other industry that equity's been in. And people tell equity you don't understand, this industry is different. They've heard that so many times that they just blow through that and figure it out. But roofing is different. You're married to that customer for a long time. You're putting this tiny shingle on to keep water out of this house, and you can get damage in the house. And I think, everybody telling equity, no, this is different. This is different. They've heard that so many times, and they've managed to find a way to win. I think it's just going to take a little bit longer with roofing for people to figure out that you're warranting this for a long time, and it's not always your fault, and you still got to fix it. It causes damage. And so I think that previous owners should stay in. I think they should guide them to a really good place before they actually get out. But they actually got to guide them. They can't, I don't agree with this. This is wrong. So I think, when there's a sale of a roofing company or it's transferring, I think there needs to be a guidance there for the first 2 years until it's in a really good, strong place for equity to take it to the next level. I think that works. As long as you're part of the progress, like you help it progress instead of getting in the way. We've seen old owners really get in the way of progress.
If a friend was evaluating PE offer tomorrow, what questions would you tell them to ask to avoid a Roscoe situation later?
For me, and what I did is I hired really good people to come in and guide me in that path that already know the industry as far as PE. That's the number one thing is to hire somebody to help you through the due diligence. And they know who the strong players are and who's winning. And so I think, we always talk about that is like hire people smarter than you. That's not your space. That's not the space you work in. So you should hire somebody to help you navigate that, and they can give you all the answers. That's what I did. Was the best decision I ever made, and actually got me to Vertex, which I think is one of the strongest brands, and he helped guide me to that. And there was other brands out there that wanted Eustis really bad. But we went with one that was more of a long-term brand that they were looking for long-term growth. And at the time, it was a 10-year process. We want to grow for the next 10 years. I don't know if that's always the same now. I think the industry's changed so much. But you should hire somebody smarter than you that knows that space, and they have experts out there. And that's what I did. Best money that you can spend.
Love it. What's one thing about PE in roofing that no one says out loud?
Man, I think everybody knows everything about PE and says it out loud. It's pretty apparent on the internet. I think a lot of people underestimate how hard they train, like sales reps. I think they underestimate that by a long shot and how well they're trained when they hit the field. So for us, it's like a 2-week process, very intense, and they come out really, really strong. And I think people underestimate that a lot.
What's one red flag in PE partner? We know there's good players and bad players and everywhere. What would you call a red flag in the PE?
My red flag is always going to be the same, that there's no concentration on the roofs that are installed on the people that do it. Like there has to be a high priority on how do we put the best roofs on. Are you hearing that from early on? Like the product, are you delivering a great product? I want them to care about the installers. And with Vertex, I always saw that. We have weekly meetings on installing and what we're doing to get better. And you're not going to see that a lot in private equity. You don't see that in a lot of local roofing companies. Again, I'll tell you the entire podcast, everybody cares about the sale, the close rate, and the collection of the revenue. Not a lot of people care about the install. And so a red flag is they're not talking about the installers and how do we make their jobs easier and better and how do we support that. If they're not talking about what makes you uniquely different on the roof, it's probably not a good fit.
How often does selling just to cash out end badly? Because there are a lot of people who just do that. They're just, I want to cash out, I'm tired. Do you see bad results?
I've heard a few stories of it. Very few. I'm sure there's more out there. I'm sure there's people that have a legit right to be upset or it didn't work well. But I've also heard a ton of success stories where it did work well, and so the owner was able to retire. For me, like even watching my brand grow in my hometown, and I go in cities that we never worked in, and I see our trucks driving around. It's really cool to see it keep going instead of just, hey, I'm going to retire, I'm going to quit and close it down. Like this is a great option for somebody that was a CEO or owned a company to retire and let it carry on. There's nothing greater than to be 4 hours away from home and see one of your trucks and go like, hey, I designed that logo, that brand, and see it continuing to grow and new jobs. Like that's awesome. Like people aren't looking at the positive sides of PE and what it can do for the industry.
Love it. Can PE money make a company grow too fast?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I believe that there's got to be a really good structure around it. Like you need regional area presidents, teams that are helping these companies, and you can actually grow a roofing company too fast, 100%. Because what happens is you grow too fast and you lose the quality. And then what you see this all the time, like companies that, and you've talked about this in the past, that go from 50 to 100 million. That's usually a 2-year span and they're out of business because the quality goes away. And they're measuring KPIs and they're saying our sales rates are going down, our marketing's not working. And so they start flooding more money into those areas. And actually, what's happening is the quality went down and you're being kicked out of neighborhoods and no one's buying from you. But you don't realize that your quality's bad. You just see the KPIs, that your close rates are bad, that your marketing's bad. And so they start dumping more money into those areas and rehiring people. And what happens is if you're not installing good roofs, the salespeople don't believe in the process neither anymore. And then they're not going to sell as good. So I think that it is a snowball effect, but nobody actually realizes where it started from, which is the quality on the roof goes away.
Wow, that's a strong point. What's more dangerous long term, bad roofer or bad PE partner?
I think a bad roofer because he's going to keep continuing the process of robbing Peter to pay Paul. And a PE is just going to close it down overnight like we saw, right? Like when they realize things are going bad, they're going to get out fast. So I think a bad roofer is going to cause more damage, to be honest with you.
Back to BlackRock. So BlackRock is such a big company, right? They're a market leader. They're a thought leader, if you will. Like, what would be one question that exposes PE firm real intentions? Because I guess how much they lost $9 million. So BlackRock is nothing, right? But it's enough. Like if we would ask them, hey, if we lose a couple $1 million, so you're gonna close us down. Like, what do you think would they answer?
I just think for BlackRock, they're such a huge private equity company. It's a drop in the bucket. If it's not going well, they just get rid of it and move on to something else. So I don't think you're going to see that with a lot of other brands. This is their bread and butter, right? This is their way to make progress and do well in their private equity company. So BlackRock it's hard to measure that one because it's a drop in the bucket to them. This is nothing to them.
They don't care.
I don't see them caring now.
Last question. What's the biggest myth contractors believe about getting the big check?
You got to pay Uncle Sam. Um, uh, that's a tough question. I think you don't realize how married you are to the brand and how much it means to you. And I think it's a tough thing to overcome. I think years after you're still struggling with, like personally, like that's not your brand anymore as much as it was before. It's a real struggle. I think overnight it changes for you.
Nostalgia, like you keep thinking, remembering the years.
Yeah, it's really, really tough. It's like a kid. Like it's like one of your kids getting married. Maybe I haven't been to that experiment yet, but I think it's what it feels like. Like you're losing one of your kids. You're not. It's a struggle, to be honest. Identity. I think it starts to, like, if you look at me, like my identity is the roofing company. Everywhere I go, people know me for that. And I don't feel that as much anymore. And it's a real struggle. I mean, it really is. And so you're probably looking for the next new thing to find your identity in. But for me, I just want to continue to take care of the people that got me to this platform. And so, I could obviously do many different things, but I still love roofing. And honestly, most of all, I love the installers. And I still go to the job sites. I was on them last week, and the guys were like, "Where have you been?" Because I was in Miami for a while helping a company down there. And it matters to the guys. And to me, that's always the most important part. And the people that work for me will tell you, like, the installers are everything. That we don't have jobs if it's not for the installers. And so that's usually where I go to find my identity, is like, hey, I helped build this. And, I went to a metal job the other day, and there's 10 guys up there, and they're all doing it uniquely the way that I would have done it in the past. And that's my identity. Like, I'm watching these guys put a roof on, like every little detail is exactly the way that I would want to do it. And so you feel like you start to lose your identity. Like, and so that's tough. That money isn't everything. I feel like people is. And so you start to realize that really quick.
Wow, thank you, brother, so much. I have a challenge question to our audience. If you're the business owner, this is a challenge for you based on Jason's answer. From 1 to 10, how much respect do you think you have from your crews, from your laborers? It's a reality check. Comment below. I'm curious where you're at, because I promise you, to earn the respect of installer, you have to do a lot of work. Not only, you don't have to do the work every day, but they have to believe that you can do the work, and they have to believe that you actually do the work. Because I've been on the cruise, and you go around the roofers or siding installers, gutter guys, they all know, oh, boss is here. Like, they're all cracking up jokes. They all have, right? Because they watch you. They watch what you post on Instagram. If you flashing your cars, your meals, your vacations, they judge you. And the problem is not even judging. The problem is respect, because once you lose that respect, now you can lose that crew. They'll go to someone they respect more. Maybe you pay them more, but it's not always what gets them. And I appreciate Jason and his attitude towards crews, because I heard it so many times from him for years. You treated them like athletes, the Christmas parties, but you can't fake it. You can't just be like, okay, I brought you lunch here and there. You can't, you either have it or you don't have it. And it's a real challenge. Like, what do your employees think about you? What do your installers think about you? And just examine your heart and see what you can change in your company. Thank you so much for being all the way to the end of the podcast. Anything to add?
Yeah, I'd like to say that's probably one of the most important parts of a roofing company is I think it takes a good year or two to build the respect with those people. And then I think moving them into positions is really important. So like, for instance, I moved a couple of them into the office space, right? And so that they can relate that back to the guys in the crew. No, they're doing this because of this. This is why we do what we do. And so they start to understand that you're not bad, that you're actually making these decisions to get more work or whatever it may be. But I think a connection to the installers is how you really build a strong roofing company. And you don't become one of those companies that go out of business after you get to 50 to 100, because your quality is still there. The people that install the roof still believe in you. But one thing on the content, what I like to post is me on the roof on details that matter, because in reality, everybody thinks you're trying to get a new customer, and everybody wants a new customer. But what you're doing is you're encouraging the people that work for you that these things matter, and it brings them up to the next level. So you get better quality when you can actually put content out there that's on a roof, working with those guys, showing the details, instead of this fancy vacation that you're on. A lot of people forget that the installers actually have social media too. So most people will post like their sales team pictures, or they'll do a Top Golf event, and they don't realize that the installers see that, and they don't feel like they're part of the team. So for me, if we're going to do those events, they're invited. And so like recently we had a baseball game out back of the shop, and it was all the installers and the office staff. We go out there and we support them. So people forget that they have social media too, and they want to be a part of a team too. So never forget those guys and girls, because those are what actually build the quality and the brand. That's what the quality is in their hands. They control the quality. So they're the most important asset that you have.
Let's make installers and crews great again.
I'm the same way. Yeah, I agree.
Love it. Thank you guys for being with us. Comment away what you think about private equity. Jason, thank you so much for flying in.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.